Okay, so can we find anything else out about Christine Garland and the Robert boys? I think the current hint is that they said, I moved to Boston just so we could hang out. I also kind of regret putting this stuff in Guy's page, because I feel like this really should be in its own Antonelli's thing. Although so far all of it's been about Antonelli's, so... Yeah, so far this is so heavily about the Antonellis that I guess I don't have to worry about the idea of crossing with other messy stuff from Guy. We have McCarran's Brew House, which is probably in Boston. McCarran's Brew House is a pub in Boston, and they have a website. Apparently the bar has been around a long time. On the site there's a list of famous people who have had a drink there, including former President of the United States, not the Roottree Company, Kennedy. There's also a few listings of television shows and books that have mentioned McCarran's, as well as how they came up. One of them is Garnishing the Truth, which the site has this to say about. Local and regular Stevie G wrote a book about food. We prefer cocktails, but he gave us a shout out, and we ain't gonna say no to free press. So grab a bite at his kid's joint Fry Die, and then swing by to meet him for a drink. Okay, I think that's the only relevant bit. We don't really care about President Kennedy. We've already found Garnishing the Truth, and we already know that his name is Stephen Garland, so I don't need Stevie G. But if I look up Fry Die, I might be able to find out what his kids look like, which is a creepy sentence. Fry Die is a fairly popular restaurant in Boston. They don't have a website, but many locals seem to mention them in various places. One more in-depth review explains that it's not a full restaurant, just a front door and very small interior with a window. Unusually, the restaurant only serves vegetables, but a lot of reviews say that, in spite of that, it's delicious. You can also find a short story about it listed on my website called My Boston Homepage. Whoever runs this page seems to just link to random sites related to Boston, tell personal anecdotes related to Boston, and give their relatively short opinions on things in Boston. It's very unorganized. It has this to say about Fried Eye. Wicked overrated. I saw it in Chef's Signature, so I went there. And there was a huge line. It didn't have a single meat dish. What's even the point? So not very interesting opinions either. I can't believe that it's shaped like what it is, and it serves the food that it serves, and it's popular. But yeah, it's one of those places where you just walk in and there's a tiny place to stand and order. Some places just have a window into the outside world. You just order outside and then get the food outside. It's like a food truck that's a building. I saw that when I went to Anthrocon in Pittsburgh. There was a local place a lot of people get food at that's like across the street, but it's just a window, which is a little surreal. So I look up Fried Die in Chef's Signature, which should be a new periodical. Chef's Signature covered Fried Die less than a year ago, right around the time you were doing your initial investigation. Each article on Chef's Signature tends to focus on a restaurant, and like the magazine's name implies, each restaurant lists the one main dish that the head chef is known for. Fried Die's signature is the Samosa cone. The cover and main article has been added to your evidence. I want to check out a veggie-only place. Well, it seems like it's all fried too, so mixed take on health stuff. Can a vegetarian diet be trendy? Sit down with the Garlands, the new boys in Boston. Preferably in a format where we name them individually with their pictures, please. They're dressed in red and blue like video game protagonists. It's the two main characters in Time Crisis 2. Chef's Signature, a nationally... Okay, one of them's probably the chef, right? And one of them's the counter person. So that'll be how I tell. Chef Signature, a nationally published magazine targeted towards fans of unusual restaurants, featured James and Robert Garland on the cover of their November 1998 issue. According to the article, the two brothers own a small walk-up window in Boston called Friday. So it's a walk-up window. Oh, I thought they said that there was an interior room, basically. I play on the tie-dye shirts that the servers wear. They're servers? They're not wearing them. They exclusively serves vegetarian dishes. Maybe they're both chefs, and there's also additional employees behind the scenes. Because this is a magazine photo, so it's like going to be the owners. Most of the offerings are heavily inspired by the powerful spices found in Thai and Indian food. Their signature dish is the Samosa cone, which from a distance somewhat resembles traditional ice cream, complete with a waffle pattern. Instead, it contains fried potatoes, pureed peas, carrots, and a special ginger-based sauce. Robert, who is 3 years younger than James, thank you. Yay, they're in the right order already. Jokes that although the age difference has left him delegated to wear the sous chef jacket his whole life, he doesn't mind. As a result, James answers most of the interviewer's questions. James credits his love for food and his culinary skills to their upbringing. Yeah, by the way, let's focus on the detail for a second there. The sous chef jacket. So, am I supposed to take that literally and that he's currently wearing it? Yep. I wish I could have locked both of them in. Oh well. That just means we have an advantage for the next bit. Oh, 32. I miscounted. Well, there we go. Elias is correct. I didn't even register that, but I guess that would be the case. Jones... Okay. Oh. Hi. Oh.
Has Clark reached out to you? Well, let me give you a short history lesson about the last few months of my life. 3 different people contacted me, claiming that somewhere in their history, they might be Roottrees. First, that young man, the rapper. I ignored that one. He seemed dubious. But then I saw the news. I felt terrible, so I began helping the others. Because my doubts with Felix were so misfounded, I ended up putting too much faith in the second person that approached me. I went to the media prematurely. I admit my mistake there. But the third person who contacted me also had a credible case. Before I could help, the company got to them somehow. The fact that the family silenced them doesn't seem to fill me with hope when it comes to Clark's intentions. But you're making progress based on the leads he gave you. It's really hard for me to get a read on him. I'll let you handle it. I've sent you the case I've been working on, and some company records I managed to track down. The records are quite dense, but hopefully they're useful. Good luck.
You interrupted my reading. Alright, so she's still in the story. And visiting. It's going to be alternating a bit, I guess. Alright, so we should have James here, so that means I only need 3 more to get the next bit of progress, so that'll be nice. I guess I did correctly pick the right spot. We still need to find a picture of their mom, though. That's a little unhelpful. Anyway, James credits his love for food and his culinary skills to their upbringing. Most kids hate vegetables growing up, but they don't have parents like we did. My father made ratatouille. My father was a chef, and my mother grew up on a farm that supplied his restaurant. That's how they met. I don't have any memories from the farm or anything like that since we moved here before I could even talk, but they told me stories. My dad's a great storyteller. He even wrote a book that partially helped fund Friday. No name still, right? When we moved, they were looking to open their own restaurant together. Unfortunately, they never got it off the ground. His line cooking gig ended up being less temporary than he hoped. And she had to go back to work as a secretary even after Robert was born. Before we were old enough to go to school, we spent our days with my aunt. Our days with their aunt. Did their aunt live here, I guess? She had to go back to work as a secretary. So that means the job should be listed as a secretary still. Do they mean back to her old job as a secretary, or new job as a secretary, because they didn't move. I assume she didn't go back to Butler County. In the diner where he worked, my dad had no room for experimenting, so he'd exercise his skills at home on his days off. We'd always go shopping and cook as a family on those days, and even thought we were hyper kids running around and causing a... Oh, even though we were hyper kids running around and causing a ruckus, those were some of our family's favorite moments since we were all together. Mom always had the eye for the best vegetables for him to work with, and she did her best to pass that on to us. According to this article, their parents, who are now retired, visit Friday often. They even have a signature dessert, the Sistine apple. Apple pie has always been my mom's favorite, and my dad always had this stupid line he used to make her laugh involving apple pie. Most people realize it's a Sistine Chapel pun and assume that's all there is to it, but it's actually secretly named after them, sort of. What? It's named after them, sort of. Sistine Apple. Stephen Garland. Christine. Last name Andrews? Apple. Christine. Sistine Chapel. Christine. I guess I'll just put an apple. AP. No. PL. PP. Is it based on letters? It could be Andrews, Christine Andrew, Alves, Barbin. This is interesting. Like, is there a name that's suspiciously Apple-like? Christine Lewis, Christine Martin, Morrison Newton. Newton's apple. That's probably it. I'll look for more Apple stuff though. I think that's it though. I think her name's Christine Newton and Elizabeth Newton. Because apple falls from the tree in the story. And they even have story-oriented recipes and things. That's funny. I think her name is Christine Newton. That's something to go on at least instead of nothing to go on. That's funny. Also, I want to go to this freaking place. Apple pie's my favorite. They have an apple pie thing? I don't know what the fuck the Samosa cone is like, but I'd try it. I do have a thing where I'm not vegetarian, but I do think there's just too much meat all the time in most things. Especially how a bunch of meals have there's a bunch of meals that I'm shocked sometimes that when you order certain things, the entire meal is just meat, and I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna die. Are we okay? Well, yeah, the portions are usually all sorts of weird. Okay, some shit's been dumped on me now. Let's do the recap of the story. Nothing's added to here though. It's Clark. We got some faces. This photo was given to you by Sam Madsen. A woman named Regina Clementine came to her and claimed that her husband has confessed that he thinks he's a Roottree. The details of this case can be found in your evidence. Stuart is the older boy wearing a vest. The woman in the photo is Mary Beth Clementine, a singer who may have had an affair with Miracle Roottree. Regina Clementine. This is the least efficient way to tell the story. So I assume what they mean is that Regina Clementine married Stuart Clementine. And Stuart Clementine's the guy in the vest. And then that's his mom. Because intuitively you're like, it's from Regina Clementine. So you expect Regina Clementine to be in the picture. And she does not seem to be. An affair with Miracle Roottree. So this last one could be Miracle Roottree. In which case, sleeps with that actor. That singer. That's her husband, assume. Actually, that might be Miracle. I'm not sure. Something would be telling us if Miracle Roottree has a new slot. It doesn't show a new slot, so that might be her. That's probably her husband. So Miracle Roottree. Did it specify? I don't think so. So let's add a page for Clementine. I have so many. I think I have almost as many pages as I had last time already, which is rough. I'm also probably doing this a bit backwards because the other document said it was about this, so I probably should be looking at that one more before I go too far into a lot of that. Let's see. Let's see here. Should probably add Stewart here. Stewart seemed to be pretty clearly the older boy. Stewart's Clementine. Oops. Stewart Clementine is you. You have a brother, also named Clementine, in the last name. And it looks like they might have gone on to have some kids and everything. Yeah, let's go back and actually finish filling in what I supposedly know here. So Regina is here. Gina Clementine. Mary Beth Clementine. Clementine's near the top of the alphabet, so we just put it right there. She's a singer. Which I guess we're gonna go with musician. Okay. Don't know what their kids' jobs turn out to be. This is probably her actual spouse. Which does mean that his last name is probably Clementine. Which probably means that Mary Beth's last name is probably not Clementine originally. So we need to find out her original name. Fuck. Or some evidence that they didn't change their names or something. From 6 pieces at prodigy.us to genealogygenie at prodigy.us. This is all the information I have about Regina Clementine, Annie Salazar. What does that mean? I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to Google this. NEA? Originally called, okay, that's what it means. I just didn't know that term, which is a disadvantage for me. Okay, so it's Regina, it's oh, I need to, right. Because she would not have originally been Clementine either. She's Regina Salazar. Renamed Regina Clementine, which is not her name. Yeah, okay. Which I almost got mixed up a little bit there too. Okay. From New Orleans, Louisiana, and her husband, Stewart Clementine. She wrote me about a month ago. Apparently, the Roottree lawyers went after her since then. By the time I received her letter and called her, she told me she couldn't cooperate anymore. Her husband, who is a police officer and never knew his father, told her he thought he might be a Roottree. A police officer? Oh, we fill those in? Police. But he's estranged from his family and didn't want to pursue it because he had no proof. She wrote to me behind his back. Normally I wouldn't be so sure, but she had some pretty credible facts. Some of it I've been able to confirm. Stuart's mother was Mary Beth Clementine. She was pretty well known in the 30s and 50s, a singer who went on to tour to a lot of churches. You can look her up online. Good hint. Yeah, I was literally just thinking of that. I'm like, hang on a minute. Mary Beth Clementine, well known in the 30s and 50s. We want to keep track of that. And she was a pretty big proponent of adoption. I know for a fact that she came to Butler County a few times. I remember her from when I was younger. And Regina said that Stuart told her that they always seem to spend a lot of time at that miracle church. She sent me a photo to prove that she's who she says she is. I've attached it in this email. Sam Madsen. 6 pieces. Unwrapping America's Sweetest Family is out now. Please consider saving a tree and not printing this email. It's printed. Whoops. Okay, so we have the photo. This isn't the person that got DNA tested out of it, right? We'll see. Seems to mostly line up as a thing I can fill in at least. We need to find out her original name, which I should be able to find by looking her up actually right now. Let's do that before we do anything else. Mary Beth Clementine was a singer most popular in the years between 1942 and 1959. She traveled around the country, performing at churches. Her repertoire was a mix of religious and popular songs, although she recorded a few records, they seem lost to time. The only one you find mentioned has a cover, was a cover of He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, released under the label New Edison. Let's see. At least a few records. Probably go to Modern Music Monthly. I guess they wouldn't use that name. Should probably be looking her up in the music one. But it's not going to give me She's Got the Whole World in My Hands or anything. No, cat, don't come in here and yell at me. I'm recording. Alright, released released under the label New Edison. What do I do with that? I don't know if that's actionable, but I can maybe look up New Edison later. One thing Mary Beth was known for was her adoption. She's listed on many sites that mention adoption and the history of adoption. She adopted 2 children in the late 1940s, Stuart and Mark. Well, that's a problem. Is that why they have a square around them? It says infidelity. Did she adopt them, or did she claim she adopted them to cover the affair? That might be where we're going. I feel like I have a weird advantage in this, in that there just are trees I have to fill in that are shaped a certain way, and the fact that it's even coming up as supposedly relevant in the massive noise of the world's nonsense means it just has to point to something and be relevant for my case. So I can just, when I encounter stuff, I can usually just assume that I can just put it in and ignore all of the real life reasons why you would doubt this stuff. Like, I feel like I'm making more leaps in this part of the game than I was in the original one, with some of how this seems to work. Let's see. So she adopted Stuart and Mark. That means I can name you Mark. So that's helpful. But we don't know your name. Or we don't know your job. And we're gonna want to know it because apparently you're the one that had kids later. She also spoke as an advocate for the benefits of adoption in front of the United States Congress in 1949, who were convening to debate and discuss the then recent first adoption of an African-American child to a white family in the United States. She was specifically there to detail her experience going through the system to adopt Stuart. Her other son was adopted later, and according to a single line on one adoption site, under unusual circumstances. Interesting. It's Stuart's wife that claims Stewart is a Roottree, but it might be that Mark is a Roottree and Stewart is not. They do have different hair colors. Unusual circumstances makes me think that that's the one covering the affair. Although, doesn't Miracle have blonde hair? Miracle has blonde hair, she has blonde hair, Stewart has blonde hair. It's Mark that doesn't have blonde hair. No. Stewart was adopted. And the other one was through unusual circumstances. Okay. Are these in... Did I place these in this order for any real reason? Well, they're married and they're split. Stewart is married to Regina Salazar. Are they still married? I think they are. I think they are, yeah. We'll see if something contradicts this thing. Because, yeah, me putting them in placeholder spots can be dangerous, obviously. In 1959, it surfaced that Mary Beth had been twice divorced, both times to her manager Sterling. This might be Sterling Clementine? Manager makes sense because he's in the recording studio. Did she keep the name? How does this work here? Her manager Sterling. This ended her career with a religious audience she had been catering to, and while she performs occasionally since then, she mostly faded into obscurity. Mary Beth passed away in 1994 at the age of 76 of a stroke. Ooh. Well, that sucks. What can we learn about New Edison? New Edison is a small record label based in Los Angeles that existed for the few years in the 40s. It raced to release cover records of songs that were gaining in popularity. It raced to release them? It's like fucking asylum films for music. Or like Kids Bop. According to a website about the history of recorded sound, it was named after its founder, Sterling Edison. Sterling Edison, okay. If his name's Sterling Edison, then her name is Mary Beth Clementine. Musician. But these two are not enough to lock in with you. Oh, that's only 3. We need 1 more. So we need to find out your job, hopefully. Its biggest claim to fame is being sued by the estate of Thomas Edison for the name? In Edison Records vs. Edsel. I keep forgetting, do I have a legal periodical? Business Watch, Butler County Times, Chef Signature. It really feels like I should have a legal periodical by now. And it might exist, but I don't know its name. Are there any here that I didn't find before? Teen Blast, Starlet, Silver Screen Magazine. Yeah, we had all of these before, and Chef is the new one. And you can't look up legal documents in the library as far as I can tell. You also find a few references to New Edison and Mary Beth Clementine on sites about old records. One collector says that the Holy Grail is a re-release of the Old Rugged Cross, and says that the first edition was originally published before she legally changed her name. She legally changed her name. So she did have an old name I need to find. Another site claims that the police had to be called to New Edison Records after its owner, Sterling Edison, got a physical altercation with public, leading to a divorce. Its owner, Sterling Edison, got into a physical altercation in public, leading to a divorce. It doesn't mention her being around, so it's like slightly weird phrasing there. There's no cited sources or evidence, and the site's content seems user-submitted. Oh no. There's an email address at the bottom and the phrase, "Send me your stories about old Hollywood and I'll add them to a page." Interesting. It does make me think it might go into Starlit or something. Or Silver Screen. No? He said Old Hollywood, even though this is music. Which is not Hollywood. I think. Old Rugged Cross might come up under music. Let's see. Of course, she changed her name, so just a thing that to keep track of the fact that she did change her name in case I can't find specific evidence of it. There we go. Mary Beth Clementine released The Old Rugged Cross for New Edison, and it was advertised quite a few times. When it was first reviewed by the magazine, however, it listed the artist as Mary Beth Quaker. All right. Her last name's Quaker? Okay. Sterling Edison, Mary Beth Quaker. Changed her name just to Clementine on her own and not based on the marriage or affair. Then made kids Mark and Stuart, one of which named married Regina Salazar. I don't currently have a reason to think that Regina and Stuart are split, but that means that we don't know who has all these kids, which is going to be important to figure out. Let's see. Yeah, her husband is a police officer, so they should still be together. I believe I have them in the right order. The comment about adoption like threw me off, because it seemed like, yeah, like the one that seemed more odd, different in appearance, made me think something else was up going on there. I think I have all those details right straight still. Okay, let's look at the company records. Oh, there's pages for this one. Okay. This is going to make some more sense. You're given some partial staff records to cross-reference by Sam Matson. These records are based on old tax mailing information and only detail the employees that worked directly for Roottree or in their corporate office. The many laborers on their farms and in their factories are not listed. You're not sure how helpful it would be except for cross-referencing Guy's secretaries and visits overseas. Spider-switching people just because they are listed in these books will likely be very time-consuming and a waste of your time. It'd be a shame if one of them was really helpful to look up that way, though, in a way that made me feel dumb for believing you. Leadership: President Zach Morden. Special Management: Ernest Matson Jr. These are already people we know, right? Zachariah Morden, President, yeah. Office staff: Edward Roottree, Lloyd Carpenter, Carl Monroe, Elizabeth Cravensworth. That's another Elizabeth. Is it the same Elizabeth? We're talking about President Zach had a thing. President Guy had a thing for an Elizabeth. And maybe Elias at the beginning, if I remember. I put that in, but I don't remember why. I might have been mixing up the Elizabeths because of this annoying reuse of Elizabeths. This is a bunch of names. Fred Cross, Albert Cross, Douglas Rosenberg, secretaries, Juliet McCullen, Joanna Robertson, Doris Mays, Beth Knox. Wait, yeah, who was that Elizabeth? That Elizabeth was office staff, but not a secretary. So different Elizabeth. Oh god, there's another one down here. Farm and manufacturing, Samantha Manson. There we know her. John Miller. Elizabeth Farrow, Thomas Green, Fred Gleason, Stuart Todd, Sam Harmon, Robert Logan, Michael Crane, Jack Keatings. Major expenses, none. Brave claim. Oh, it's per page numbers. So there's supposedly one thing on here that's helpful to figure out. And they'll have dates, which is helpful. Each page is dated. In 1977, it was announced that Zach would be retiring and Guy would be taking over at the start of 1978. They held a retirement party in November before spending the final month working on the transition. During 1976 and 1977, the following changes took place. 1977, Guy Hudson has replaced Ernest Matson Jr. as Special Management. Special Management. I need some water. Hang on. So Guy's replacing Zach, but Guy replaced not Zach, but Ernest Manson Jr. So he like did special management first and then became president later, I guess. Patrick Decker becomes office staff. Elias Roottree is no longer employed by Roottree. Ernest Manson Jr. is now listed under project management, so Ernest got demoted, I guess. Secretaries, Christine Farrow is hired. Joanna Robertson is no longer listed amongst the secretaries, but Joanna Fellows has been added to the list, but not listed as hired necessarily. Joanna Fellows. That's extremely suspicious, because that's the name of you. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this in real quick. That sure seems relevant based on what we already know. And I should probably add that. 5 Ps. Christine Farrow is no longer listed amongst the secretaries, but a Christine Garland has been hired. Christine Garland. Huh. Well, that's disappointing. I guess I was just wrong. This should be the timeline. Yeah. So that's Christine's name is Pharaoh. They said it was an Apple thing, and it's a Sistine Apple. Is their name Christine Newton? That's an Apple reference. I feel like my answer is better. I'm annoyed that that's not the truth, but clearly it isn't, because this bit here. Clementine? No. Guy? I'm gonna rename this back to being, Antonellis. The Antonellis lead, because otherwise I'm gonna be... There's like 5 separate Guy things to investigate. It's gonna become a problem. In fact, I should do that here. So Antonellis. G Antonellis. Does that fit? Yes. G 5 Ps. These are 2 of the Guy ones. So I'll try to have all the guys have a G first, so I can try to like group them up. Clementine. Clementine's completely separate. That's Miracle. Alright, so back to 5 Ps. Actually, we don't know what's next. John Miller is no longer employed. Gwyneth Manson was hired. Major expenses: Beth Knox 50-year work anniversary bonus 50,000. Zach Morden retirement party 20,000. That's what we knew happened. In 1978, Guy Hudson took over, so there it is. This became a particularly volatile period in the company's staffing. Many travel expenses are listed, and Guy began trying to develop a new five-piece flavors. Guy Hudson replaces Zachariah Morden as leadership. Edward Roottree, Elizabeth Cravensworth, and Lloyd Carpenter are no longer employed by Roottree. Raffertoons is now listed as office staff. Raffertoons being Clark. Also, the like special position that Guy took over last year has not been replaced. Like, I just got a permanent demotion and didn't even get to come back to his job. Albert Cross and Fred Cross are no longer employed by the Roottree. Christine Garland no longer working for Roottree. Beatrice Watson and Corinne Schwartz were hired. Juliet McCullen and Doris Mays no longer employed. Lisa Lewis and Valerie Ewing were hired. These are probably relevant names at some point, but we don't know which ones yet, so I'll have to just come back to this later. Thomas Green, Michael Crane, Elizabeth Farrow, and Jack Keatings are no longer employed at the Roottree. Emily Seinfeld and Sam Cattrall were hired. We heard of Sam in the main tree last time. Robert Logan is no longer employed by Roottree. William Sams was hired. Susan Ford was hired under a special category that only existed for 1 year. Interpreter. Interpreter for what? Major expenses: presidential office refurbishment, 52,000. 5-piece flavor development, caviar, 10,000 a month. Caviar flavors? Isn't caviar gross? But especially just like not a candy flavor in particular. That's like some fucking every flavor bean nonsense. Edward Roottree retirement party, 7,000. Christmas tree bash, 7,000. New Year's Eve's ball, 7,000. Those are suspiciously even numbers, almost as if they mean something else. Travel expenses: Australia, China, France, and Brazil, 190,000. That's not how much it costs to. Well, I never travel out of the country really, so that's a bad example. 5-piece flavor development, butterscotch. That makes way more sense. 5-piece flavor development, caviar. What? He's still trying to develop it a year later for 10,000 a month. 4th of July spectacular, New Year's Eve's ball. These are really even numbers. It's exactly 10,000 a month to research a different flavor every month. And also every single party is exactly the same price. Do these parties exist? There's nothing to get them here, right? No. A big old confidential word. 1980, 1981. The volatility continued. Many new employees didn't tend to stick around for very long. The following changes were recorded. Terry O'Connor was hired. Susan Ford was moved to the office staff. Douglas Rosenberg no longer employed. Edward Morrison and Robert Andrews were hired. Edward Morrison no longer employed in only 1 year. Corinne Schwartz and Beatrice Watts are no longer employed. Linda Lewis and Angela Ingram were hired. Lisa Lewis and Valerie Erwig no longer employed. Catherine Garrett was hired. William Sams no longer employed. Emily Seinfeld no longer employed, and Emily Barnes is now listed. Another name change that might be relevant. Gwyneth Madsen is no longer employed, but Gwyneth Cattrall is now listed. That should be the Gwyneth over here, right? Where was Cattrall? There's the Madsen. Yeah. So she took over the farming after Samantha, I think, right? And she went from Gwyneth Madsen to Gwyneth Cattrall. Yeah, we knew about her. Just in a giant list of names, it's just nice to actually recognize something sometimes. Susan Ford no longer is interpreter because she was moved up to the office staff. Development of flavors: strawberry, Chigua, butterscotch, caviar. Still, stop, man. New Year's Eve's ball, 4th of July spectacular, Christmas brunch, strawberry, Chigua, butterscotch, caviar, and just more parties. 250,000 for the Grandorf Dove donation. The what? I wonder if I can Google that one. The Grandorf School for the Deaf, formerly Grandorf Dove, is located about an hour from where the Roottrees offices used to be in Butler County, but it serves much of that part of Pennsylvania and nearby Ohio. According to their website, it was formerly named Grandorf Dove from 1923 to 1990 because Grandorf was the last name of the founder and Dolf is Danish word for deaf. The founder had issues with government translators, leading to an odd transcription issue. So interpreter. There's something going on here. Is this gonna be tied to one of the kids somehow? Or is it a random red herring? In 1990, it was renamed to better represent the school's purpose and to correct the embarrassing lack of efforts and awareness demonstrated by the government officials in those early days. The staff is listed on the website. You can scan through all of the biographies and find that the principal, Miss Ford, is fluent in 5 languages, including ASL, American Sign Language. She's been working at the school for 15 years. Miss Ford's bio also mentions she's not deaf herself, but rather learned sign language to communicate with the deaf. It mentions that she was responsible for securing funding for the Hudson Wing. Okay. Let's do... just for clarity, I'm just going to add a deaf page. because that's just the easiest way to remember exactly what's going on here in the space I've provided. But that's an interesting bit of overlap between these documents. Something's up with this character. She comes up enough that it seems relevant. So they needed an interpreter for some reason. That's the same person, Susan Ford. So I'm glad I was able to recognize her name because she had a weird thing going on here. So she was brought in as an interpreter for 1 year, then became regular office staff. And then she also worked at Grandorf School for the Deaf for 15 years. And specifically, he then made a $250,000 donation to Grandorf Dove. Which makes you wonder if they're covering something up, because weird donations with this family can often be cynically implied to be based on an affair. Donation was in 1981. So maybe here. I'm not super good at figuring out where to actually place each affair. I do them mostly based on shape. Like, oh, these characteristics must mean it's that one. But doing them chronologically is harder if I have nothing else to go on. Like, one of these very well could be Ford, because that's a suspicious amount of prominence. In the end, like I've said before, like just like with like the economy of characters and the economy of storytelling that goes into a lot of this stuff, I can kind of just assume somebody is significant when they just come up enough. And so the fact there's a bunch of weird stuff about Ford means it's either a very intentional red herring or it's just one of the people. And so it's worth keeping an eye on and treating it like it's real until I get proven otherwise. Guy Hudson died in May of 1982. So the first few months of that year continued along the same pattern as they had been. Things quickly changed when Ernie took over. Most of the extraneous expenses ended, and all the secretaries, most handpicked by Guy Hudson, were let go. Huh. Sam Hudson left Roottree in 1984. So there's the last set of books you have access to. Oh, Sam left, right? Because she's the one that's smuggling me this information, so she couldn't have any more when she wasn't there anymore. So she left 2 years after Guy died. The following changes were recorded. Ernest Madsen replaces Guy Hudson. Carl Roottree joins as special management. He was the 5th president. Susan's no longer employed in 1982. Let's see. No changes the next 2 years. So things slow down a lot. Product management. In 82, Ernest Madsen Jr. no longer works in this department. Douglas Rosenberg was rehired. Secretaries. Angela Ingram, Linda Lewis, Catherine Garrett are no longer employed by the Roottree. Don't know where to put that, but that seems somewhat relevant as a list of names. I'm sorry if you can hear the cat, but Andrew just has a cat that just continually does one meow over and over again at the exact same pitch and volume and everything, and just sort of just starts making a bunch of noise sometimes and wanders the house. And right now, the dog has perfectly positioned his dog bed in the swing of the door to my room, so I have to like kick him out or something if I want to close my door. I usually am happy to just have my door open when Andrew's not home and just be like, let the air conditioning be equal and not have my room be weirdly hot because my computer's running in here. But this cat has been getting vocal lately. Like I remember this not being. I remember my door being left open was not a concern for like months, and lately it has been. It's been funny. From here on out, no secretaries are directly employed by Roottree. Roottree instead uses a temp agency called Work Time Temp. Hello. That could be relevant too as something to look into. Farm and manufacturing, Victor Logan was hired. Stuart Todd is no longer employed by Roottree. Amy Sutton was hired. Sam Masson is no longer employed by Roottree. So that's when, yeah, Sam leaves. That's all the end of our information. Sugar plum, strawberry, shigua, butterscotch, caviar canceled after, they'll say 5 months. So he just like hard ended all flavor development. New Year's Ball, Fred Gleason 50-year work anniversary bonus. That's a long ass time to work in a place. Root clothing reimbursement, Carl Roottree. Ah. I don't think this is relevant to our case. It's just like, oh yeah, Carl took over next. Or what was he? Carl is in special management. Carl spent $1 million of their money on basically for a company purchase of Root fashion, but that's his wife's company. So he just basically just gave $1 million to his wife. Basically, like, there's just every step of this, there's always some kind of corruption or something going on here, like just all the way down. They're just all like this. They're just all like this. Okay. Let's... We're using more pages than before, but I'm definitely like, I want... Ah, damn it, secretaries. Okay, let's just unhighlight these. Fine. No? How do I unhighlight? I think I want the secretary information because it's very likely just a list of victims essentially. Maybe not one-to-one, but at least a few of them are probably going to come up later. But I don't want to bury it in the School of the Deaf thing. Did I have a timeline for the School of the Deaf? Is what I'm wondering. Did she work for 15 years with the School of the Deaf after? She has been working for 15 years. Renamed in 1990. What's the date of the article? Oh, she's been working there for 15 years is like non-diegetic. Right, I forget that these aren't always articles. These are like summaries of our research for us. So she's been working there since 84? Which is when... That's 2 years after he died. Okay, so she worked here afterwards. What was the time of the donation? Go here? To be where I can find the donation? What's going on there? If I'm judging this correctly, he made a donation to Grandorf Dove before Susan worked there. But then she went on to work there for 15 years. But they brought her in as an interpreter. I'm just like, did he have a deaf child? Is that the implication? Or did he have an affair with the interpreter? But then the donation went to a place she didn't work at yet, I think? That's going to take some more scrutiny to figure out, I think. But right now, I gotta take a break.